Welcome to the D Post Sports Extra. I'm Ed Owens, joined here by Brian Hanni of the Texas Tech Sports Network. Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Ed. Thanks for having me with you.
I appreciate you joining us. Let's jump right into it. Last year, Texas Tech went 8-5. They had a 5-game losing streak to end the regular season, kind of backed into that Holiday Bowl, and then finished with a bang, a huge win over Arizona State. Can they carry that over, and how big was that win for this team?
I think it was huge for numerous reasons, not just to get the bad taste of a losing streak out of their mouths, but you really saw a star born in Davis Webb, and he's the reason for all the optimism heading into this season, and the reason I'll answer with a resounding yes to your question. He was terrific in the spring. Cliff Kingsbury is already talking about what he could be over the next 2 years. He says his goal is to have Davis leave Texas Tech as a top 5 overall draft pick. Now that's pretty lofty, but he feels like he has the measurables and the intangibles to become that one day. Is he that right now? No. But clearly he's a much different guy than where he was at this time a year ago. He was a skinny kid. Now he's put on 15 solid pounds of muscle. His poise in the pocket, his command of the huddle, all of that makes you believe that Texas Tech, quite honestly, has one of the better quarterback situations behind Bryce Petty in this Big 12 conference. And because of some of the weapons that return around him, this will be one of the better passing games in the Big 12 conference.
You mentioned Webb there. Coming out of spring, he was the only quarterback on the post-spring depth chart. I mean, he is the option, it seems like. Going in, it's kind of a big change in position, change in role for him as it was last year.
And he's assumed that role since the practices leading up to the bowl game. He's grabbed the bull by the horns and really run with it. But what happens if he goes down? Major question mark. You remember the Major League pitcher Pat Mahomes? Mm-hmm. His son Patrick is the number 2. Guy that Cliff Kingsbury is very excited about coming out of high school, a guy that, quite honestly, if you would ask me 3 months ago, they probably would have thought they were going to lose him to the first-year player draft, Major League Baseball.
Okay.
They were lucky to get him. At this point, he's their clear-cut number 2. There'll be some walk-on guys that factor in behind them, but they feel like they're going to have to lean on him at some point, and they feel pretty good about that. Now, the following season, 2015, the number 1 rated recruit quarterback in the country has already committed to Texas Tech and Jarrett Stidham. So look for this to kind of become QBU of West Texas with Cliff Kingsbury coaching that position going forward.
Okay. I have to ask about the Nigel Bethel situation. Obviously, got in some trouble earlier this offseason. He was kicked off the team, recently reinstated. Just your take on that, his reinstatement. Do you think it was the right move for Tech?
You know, it was an unusual situation. Not often do you see someone dismissed from the team and then reinstated. Usually there's a suspended indefinitely that leads to a reinstatement. But in this case, with each day that went by, there was a little bit more that came into the picture. Now, they had the video from day one, but I think what changed the administration's mind on this was the female basketball player, Amber Battle, who was involved in this, whose role, upon further review, looks every bit as bad as Nigel's. Mm-hmm. She came to the athletic director, Kirby Hillcutt, and said, I really don't feel right about him having a harsher punishment than me. Is there any way we could have equal punishment? And so that's what they elected to do. They both lose essentially a quarter of the season coming up. And if Nigel elects to redshirt this season, then it'll be the following season. But he's going to miss 3 games regardless. It was a little bit surprising to see how it ultimately worked out, but did they get it right in the end? I think they probably did, the fact that it turns out to be equal punishment. There's no winners in this thing at all, but the good news is both kids get to stay on campus, and yet both kids will be pretty substantially punished, not just with the 3-game suspension for Nigel, but some internal stuff that you don't hear about that'll go on to make sure he learns his lesson.
Okay. We hit on the offense there a little bit with Webb. Defensively, Matt Wallerstedt coming back for his 2nd season as defensive coordinator. What's that mean for this defense, and what are your projections for this defense going forward?
Well, I think it's huge because it had been 5 years since they'd had continuity with the same defensive coordinator from one year to the next. I mean, literally a carousel over the last 5 seasons, and all these kids love Wallerstedt. You talk to Sam McGuavin, who is here today, or maybe Kenny Williams, who's making the transition from running back to linebacker, and they all sing this guy's praises. Cliff Kingsbury would tell you right now that an area of concern at the end of last season, defensive line with Kerry Hyder's departure, is now an area of strength. They've really restocked there. They're excited about what they have up front defensively. And the linebacking core, with the additions of Fehoko and also Kenny Williams, it looks more solid than it has been. And if they can develop some secondary depth, it'll be a better than advertised defense. Is it going to be a strength of this team? Maybe not the strength, but I think they're going to be better than advertised, and Wallerstedt's a huge reason why.
All right. Who's somebody that the fans don't know right now that at the end of the season they will recognize as a star on Texas Tech's team?
Well, the easy answer, obviously fans saw Davis Webb for half of last season. I think he's got star potential. I think this is the breakout season. I think Jakeem Grant, who's on the Biletnikoff Award watch list already, has the type of year that puts him into the national picture as a household name, not just in Texas, but across Big 12 country. If you're looking for a deeper reach beyond that, then maybe it is somebody like a Sam McGuavin in the middle of the linebacking core. Maybe it's Justin Stockton, a 4-star rookie running back that now gets a bigger piece of the pie because of Kenny Williams moving to linebacker. But I think this is going to be a breakout year for a lot of Red Raiders.
All right, and then just one last one for you. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but a prediction for this season. Coming out of last year, the momentum they may have from that bowl game, is there a number? Do you have a record in mind, or what do you think a great season for Texas Tech would be?
Some guys shy away from this question. I never understood why. We're all wrong with our predictions at some point, but I happen to feel pretty good about this team in their ability to go 3-0 in the non-con. I think from there they have a great chance to build some momentum and really get rolling here and finish as high as 9-3. 8-4 might be most realistic. I think the ceiling is 9-3. It all depends on Davis Webb's health and how much does that continuity with defensive scheme get that club to the next level on that side of the football. But to me, it's an 8-4 feel good about it, 9-3 feel great about it type of season for Cliff Kingsbury's bunch.
All right, that's great. Well, I really do appreciate taking the time, Brian. Thanks for joining us. We will be catching up with you again during the season at some point, and enjoy the start of football.
Thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
All right, Ed Owens here for thedpost.com, and check back soon for more videos from Big 12 Media Day in Dallas.